guys, it's Nurse J again, bringing more truth. So, what if I was to tell you that this God in the Old Testament loved ripping up babies out of mothers' wombs and dashing little children's head up against the rocks? It's hard to imagine that we've been told that the Creator God of the Old Testament loved us and knew us before we were even born. Now, that could have been true on Inky's part, but Enlil, Jehovah, Yahweh did not. Who are these entities? Were they your bad Anunnaki? Were they your Draconians? Were they your reptilians? Lots of deities out there. Some good, some bad. You decide who you want to follow. But in church, all my life, I was told that the Creator God of the Old Testament took upon flesh, came down, walked among men, and his name was Jesus. I can tell you, friends, that these two books are not one and the same. These two books, one is of the Hebrews, and the other one is made by the Greco-Romans. Two totally different books. And so the wonderful idea that Eusebius had was to put the Greco-Roman book with the Old and then call it the Old. You see? Because they had to pull from the quote old to fit the new. So that's why you have this confusion. And see, even in the quote Old Testament, there's confusion. You have to know these Anunnaki gods to know what's going on. So let's get down to it. You know, there's this preacher named Dan Barker. He was evangelical for years and preached and everything. And he wrote a book called Godless, which I did read. And my husband was very upset about me buying that book and reading that when I first was going on my journey. And he didn't even want to look at the title of the book. He's still in Christianity and I'm not. So he goes his way, I go mine. But we always meet in the middle. And we still have a great relationship. It's just we are, you know, have our ups and downs about religion. Okay, so let's moving on. So God destroys a family for no reason. So God made a bet with Satan that Job, a good and blameless man, would remain faithful even if he killed his children, ruined his life. And here we see God making himself, indicting himself for the crime, openly confessing that he destroyed a family for no reason. The Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one like him on earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and turns away from evil. He still persists in his integrity. Although you incited me against him to destroy him for no reason." So Satan, and we know there's really not a Satan. But in this instance, Satan was like, you incited me to destroy him for no reason. So Satan here was like the good guy, right? Just like Inky was the good guy. So God destroys the fetuses. Yes, you heard me correctly. The fetuses of those who do not worship him. Now, this is not the only fetus passage in the Bible, but it's one of the worst. You shall acknowledge no God but me, because there's more than one. You are destroyed, Israel. The people of Samaria must bear their guilt because they have rebelled against their God. They will fall by the sword. Their little ones will be dashed to the ground, and their pregnant women ripped open. Hosea 13, 4 through 9, and the Job verse was Job 2 and 3. God approves the massacre of a peaceful people so one of his tribes could have a place to live. Boy, I don't believe any of this happened, but this book is out of control. Most believers think God destroyed the Canaanites because they were depraved and immoral. Although the Bible does not make that claim, they were killed and labeled evil and wicked simply because they did not worship him. Here is a group of people who did nothing wrong. They were at peace and secure, but they had to be eliminated. You see, the Canaanites, they worshipped El, that was peaceful, loving, and kind. And in those days, the tribe of the Danites was seeking a place of their own where they might settle because they had not yet come into an inheritance among the tribes of Israel. Then they said to the priests, "Please inquire of God to learn whether our journey will be successful." And the priests answered them, "Go in peace. Your journey has the Lord's approval." Then they took what Micah had made and his priests and went on into Lachish against a people, peace, and secure. They attacked them with the sword and burned down their city, and the Danites rebuilt the city and settled there. Judges 18:1 through 28. The Canaanites were not the evildoers. Babies are slaughtered and wives raped. The murderous Old Testament deity deemed human life to be worthless, placing his own megalomaniacal glory above human values. And here is one of the worst examples. See, the day of the Lord is coming, a cruel day with wrath and fierce anger. I will put an end to the arrogance of the haughty. Their infants will be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses will be looted and their wives violated. Isaiah 13:9 through 16. Okay. Number 6, a mixed race couple is murdered by a godly priest to keep God's people pure. The righteous priest Phineas murdered a loving couple for the crime of being mixed. Then he was praised by God and rewarded for the hate crime with a perpetual priesthood for keeping the nation racially pure. Just then, one of the Israelites came and brought a Midianite woman into his family, in the sight of Moses and in the sight of the whole congregation of the Israelites. When Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, saw it, he got up and left the congregation. Taking a spear in his hand, he went after the Israelite man into the tent and pierced the two of them, the Israelite and the woman, through the belly. So the plague was stopped among the people of Israel. The Lord spake to Moses, saying, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, has turned back my wrath from the Israelites by manifesting such zeal among them on my behalf, that in my jealousy I did not consume the Israelites. Therefore say, I hereby grant him my covenant of peace. It shall be for him and his descendants after him a covenant, a perpetual priesthood, because he was zealous for his God and made atonement for the Israelites. Numbers 25, 6 through 13. See, his God. A daughter is burned as an acceptable sacrifice to God. General Jephthah made a vow with God in order to defeat the enemy. When Jephthah won the war, God received his 100 pounds of flesh. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord, if you give the Ammonites into my hands, whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me when I return in triumph from the Ammonites will be the Lord's. And I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering. And when Jephthah returned to his home in Mizpah, who should come out to meet him but his daughter, dancing to the sound of timbrels? After the 2 months, she returned to her father, and he did to her as he had vowed. Judges 11:30 to 39. After burning his daughter, Jephthah was rewarded with a prestigious judgeship and was later buried with honor. Wow, these stories are very sick. I don't believe any of this happened. If it did, it did, but I really don't think it did. But these writers are sick. The cannibalistic God makes people eat human flesh. Yes. What Anunnaki is cannibalistic or any other extraterrestrial? Alien? Is it a reptilian? A draconian? There are 9 passages in the Old Testament where God makes cannibalistic threats. And here is the worst one. And if ye will not for all this hearken unto me, but walk contrary unto me, then I will walk contrary unto you also in fury, and I, even I, will chastise you 7 times for your sins, and ye shall eat the flesh of your sons, and the flesh of your daughters shall you eat. Leviticus 26, verse 27 to 29. God threatens rape, then takes credit for it. Dear truth seekers, I know this is hard for you to grasp because I'm bringing it out. And if you are still stuck in this religion, for all sakes, come out of it. Quit giving your energy to these entities that are feeding off of our frequency and vibration. This passage says, Dan, it blew him away. But he said, I guess I had only read it before in the King James Version where the sexual molestation is not obvious. But in the NRSV, where the Israelites were asking why they were being attacked by the Babylonians, it says, hear and give ear and do not be haughty, for the Lord has spoken. And if you say in your heart, why have these things come upon me? It is for the greatness of your iniquity that your skirts are lifted up and you are violated, because you have forgotten me and trusted in lies. I myself will lift up your skirts over your face, and your shame shall be seen. Jeremiah 13, 15 through 26. Now, skirts lifted up is sexual assault, and violate is rape. The King James Version has the quaint heels made bare, which obscures the sexual assault. Notice that the iniquity for which they were being raped was not immorality or depravity. It was simply because you have forgotten me. So I guess if we forget to call someone or forget to text someone, they have the right to come rape us. God threatens sexual molestation. The Lord will harass attractive, uppity women by exposing their private parts. Moreover, the Lord saith, because the daughters of Zion are haughty and walk with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes, walking and menacing as they go, and making a tinkling with their feet. Therefore the Lord will smite with the scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord will discover their secret parts. Isaiah 3 and 16 and 17. The New International Version covers up this embarrassing passage with make their scalps bald in place of discover their secret parts. Hebrew, POTH equals vagina. Other translations are more honest. The Orthodox Jewish Bible has laid bare their nakedness. Amplified Bible says strip naked. And the Complete Jewish Bible says expose their private parts. Common English Version, uncover their private parts, and Living Bible, expose their nakedness for all to see, even if daughters of Zion is a metaphor for Israel. It is a metaphor of sexual assault. God wants you to be happy to dash the babies against the rocks. I've always thought this was one of the worst verses, and my opinion remains unchanged, he says. O daughter Babylon, you devastator, happy shall they be who pay you back for what you have done to us. Happy shall they be who take your little ones and dash them against the rock. Psalm 137, 8 and 9. God was not merely saying that regrettable collateral damage might occur during wartime. He said believers should be happy. Some translations say blessed to kill innocent babies of those who are keeping you from worshiping your own God. So, dear truth seekers, Gnostics, pagans, atheists alike, I hope you have enjoyed these nasty little verses. And it is October. Trick or treat. And so me and Thal say Hotep Ashe, and we will see you with another video shortly.